Well, hello everyone and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. Today we'll be talking about arthritis pain and how that pain really stops you from achieving your life to your full potential. But my guest today, Emily Johnson, figured out a way to solve her problem and help others who are going through such pain. She is Emily Johnson, and she's on a mission to live well with arthritis. She has personally battled this disease. As an author, she has her insight into taking back control of a person's own body through seronegative arthritis. She's the founder of Arthritis Foodie. Her network and has written the ultimate guide to living with arthritis. After a year battling with the condition, Emily embarked on a condition of healing her body with food, exercise, and healthy living. And now, with her debut book, she puts us all on a path to take back control of our own bodies. Beat Arthritis Naturally shares Emily's top tips and tricks for managing the symptoms, along with quick exercise, delicious recipes made with unprocessed whole foods. I'm super delighted to talk to Emily because in this conversation, we'll be focusing on some of the healthy, delicious recipes she's talked about, will be shared on the pictures she sent. How did she do this? What is arthritis? What are some of the pain that comes from living with arthritis? The top tips for having your best life when you're dealing with a chronic pain. Join me in conversation with Emily Johnson as we share her stories on living with pain and finding your joy. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's conversation is one I'm truly excited about, especially people who are out there living with chronic pain. You know, with chronic pain, you're always finding a way to make your pain a lot better, a lot easier, so you could go about with your day-to-day life. My guest today, as I said in my introduction, Emily Johnson, she did just that. She has arthritis and she had this just earlier, 5 years ago. And she's figured out ways to make it better for her. And not just for her, but for others. Let's meet my wonderful guest, Emily. Emily, how are you today?
Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here on Painless Universal.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm absolutely delighted because you know what? When people read your post and your story, people don't understand that you've actually gone out of your way to help others, to show them the methods of helping them go through whatever chronic illness might have presented to them. Before we get started, who are you?
So my name is Emily Johnson. I founded and take care of a blog called Arthritis Foodie. I'm also the author of Beat Arthritis Naturally, which is a book that helps you live better alongside your arthritis and chronic pain. It's got support from 13 healthcare professionals, including rheumatologists, immunologists, physiotherapists, doctors, you name it. I got on board to support me with this book. And it's not just recipes for food, it's everything alongside sleep, exercise, mindfulness. It's really everything you need to know about living well and living day to day with arthritis.
Okay, when did arthritis become a hindrance in your life? Like, when did you first notice? Because you said anyone who doesn't know, you didn't have this, not something you had growing up, you weren't born with it, but it was something that's progressively started. When did it become a hindrance, and when did you first know that?
So for me, I first got arthritis when I was 20, was when it was really prevalent. But I had a strange episode when I was 4 years old, actually. My knee swelled and I was hospitalized for 2 weeks, but the doctors didn't know what it was at the time. And they sort of not wrote me off, but they checked me for juvenile arthritis and said, no, everything's fine. But the way I describe it in my book is that your genetics hold the bullets and your environment pulls the trigger. So for me, I was really run down. My immune system was a bit of a state. I was stressed, I hadn't slept much, and then I got food poisoning, and then I just think my body reacted really terribly to whatever bacteria that was, and actually started attacking my good cells, which is an autoimmune disease. So there's over 100 different types of arthritis, And a lot of them are actually autoimmune diseases, which people don't realize. Osteoarthritis is not an autoimmune disease, but things like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis are all autoimmune diseases. So it first started for me then when I was in my early 20s. I was at university. It was very difficult. I had to take about 6 weeks off to recover. I didn't know what was wrong with me. My hands were really, really swollen, and I used to wake up and not know what on earth to do. I went to A&E a couple of times. I went to my GP, and it took almost 2 years actually to get a diagnosis of seronegative arthritis, inflammatory arthritis. And initially they said it would just last a year. It was from the food poisoning. It would just last a year. But it hasn't. It's lasted, and I'm gonna live with this my whole life. So I have found ways to live with it better, and hopefully help other people live with it better too.
So, and you just said it took you a while to figure this out. So anyone who's going through this process right now, like some people might just be listening to this and all of a sudden they realize, actually, I've been going through this pain and I don't know what it is. When did you really realize that now this then is more than just normal and swelling of the limbs or arms, hands? This is something that the doctor needs to push on and really take it seriously. When did you realize this was the case for you?
So I knew from the very beginning that something wasn't right, and I really pushed for answers. But it wasn't until I had an ultrasound that they saw that the swelling in my hands was classed as severe, and it was only then that they said, okay, this is arthritis and this is what you got. But until that point, I was really, I didn't know what the hell was going on. But I just say to anyone struggling with pain, joint pain, whatever it might be, chronic pain, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with them, all I can say is, you know your body better than anybody else. You live in it every day. Start a diary, keep a diary of everything that's happening, whether it be what you're eating, how your pain levels are, where the swelling is, what it's like when you wake up, what it's like during the day, what it's like when you go to bed, and take those notes with you to doctors and specialists, because sometimes when you're in that consultation room, it can feel really overwhelming, and you go, oh, well, this happened and I felt pain on this day, and then this happened, and then and it's really stressful because it's your body and it's how you're feeling. And it's very personal. But I think if you have it written down, it's really sort of black and white. This is what's happening, and it almost takes away that emotion a little bit. And these are the facts. This is what's going on. Help me, which is what I did actually. I went with the doctor to the doctor with notes, and so did my mum. And it was only then really that I think I started to. The GPs were like, oh, okay, this is something bigger than what we're thinking it is, and sort of took me, to various referrals, and I eventually ended up in the rheumatology department. So my biggest thing is, you know your body. And trust yourself, and keep a diary of everything that's happening.
So what are some of the challenges that these pains brought to you? Because one of the struggles people have when they have chronic illness like you have with this arthritis, what are some of the difficulties you found living with arthritis pain?
So I don't look like I've got arthritis. I don't look like I live in pain every day. So that was a huge barrier. And I think as a young person as well, I mean, at any age, this type of pain, you can't necessarily see it, and it's invisible. So, aside from when my joints are really swollen, there's no visible sort of like bruising or cut, or there's nothing that I can say this is what it is, but I am feeling it. So that is something that I definitely have struggled with. But now I just think, look, like I said, you know your body better than anybody else, and the people that love you, care about you, will believe you and trust you and know that this is your truth, and don't shy away from it. And also sort of embrace it in a way and go, okay, this is happening to me. What can I do to help myself? And don't make it an enemy. So in the book, I say, if you've got to live with someone for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round, and you are angry at them every day, then that's exhausting. So try and understand your pain, try and work with it, and get your head around it, and go online and find communities that are also going through the same, disease or chronic illness that you are, chronic pain communities, and you'll realize, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Because I think a lot of it as well is feeling alone. That's another thing. Not only is it not being seen and the pain not being seen, but also feeling quite alone with it. Yeah, so that's a huge thing for me. And in when I started arthritis 3D in 2018, I was absolutely at rock bottom. And I turned to Instagram to find a community, an arthritis community. And there's a couple of charities and things, but there was no sort of like voice for the sort of patient community. And there was no one really talking about food or how lifestyle affects them or anything like that. So I just sort of started blogging about it. And then I realized actually, people contact me on, is there a book? Is there something? So then I thought maybe that there's something in helping people and sort of going towards writing my book. But yeah, things that I've struggled with is invisibility and feeling alone. And yeah, feeling like really angry and that it's never going to go away and how am I going to ever live with this? But making it your friend and understanding it is the first thing you can do to help yourself.
That's truly amazing what you just said there, because I had to learn that method as well, where you make your chronic illness, your pain, your friend, rather than making it your enemy. Because when you keep fighting it, it takes so much energy out of you. You're doing so much, and rather than you saying, okay, this thing is here, but it's here to stay and it's not going away. So it's almost like
got to do the best with it.
Yeah, you just have to get used to seeing it and deal with it the best way you can, rather than making an enemy, because it sucks you. It takes so much away from you. And you talked about this led you on to the path of, started to, because you couldn't find much out there that was really in tune with what was really going on with you, your daily struggles, your daily difficulties, what to eat, what causes stress, what causes the pain. And in 2018, you wanted to learn more about the disease, but there just wasn't anything, like when there was things there, but not quite what you were really looking for or useful knowledge. Why do you think there's a lack of information available?
I think for me, when I was looking, I just felt, even in myself, actually, I kept that account anonymous for about 8 months and didn't have my face on it, or I didn't have, like, it was just all about food. And I think there is that sort of, I don't want people to know, or I feel ashamed, or I feel embarrassed, or I think when I first started out, I feel like maybe that was the lay of the land in 2018. No one really spoke about their chronic illnesses and as much as they do now. I mean, there's thousands of accounts and brilliant YouTubers and Instagrammers and all sorts that are really, really open. But I think back then we were in a sphere of sort of like these influencers in bikinis on beaches and, try this tea, do this. And Instagram was a very different place. Whereas I think now it's become more about community and sharing your experiences, sharing your truth. And I think it's wonderful. There's so many more people out there doing that. So I think for me, it was probably that. And even I felt it. But then I thought, you know what, if I'm really going to try and make a difference here, I have to put my face to this. I have to be public. I have to be open about living with this, because this is the face of someone that lives with arthritis. And, if someone sees me, then maybe they can feel more happy. And, I got a message actually from a dad in America, and I write about it in the book actually. And he messaged about his daughter, and she had arthritis since the age of 3. And she said, I'm 10 and I watch your Instagram and it makes me feel better about living with arthritis. And it made me cry when I received that message, because that's exactly why I do what I do, because, there are millions of people living with this condition. And if you see someone that looks like you, or is open about it, or is dealing with it in a certain way and is helping, I just think it makes you feel less alone and makes you feel better. So yeah, that was sort of I didn't start it as that. It was just like a food diary, like a lifestyle thing. But I was like, no, actually, this is my purpose. This is what I'm here to do. And I felt very strongly about sharing my experience with living with arthritis. So.
And your book came along.
And my book,
Arthritis Naturally. It's a book that contains useful and scientific, because a lot of people, I think this is the fear nowadays, that so many people are writing books about their condition, talking about it, but it's just based on their experiences, that not that backing of the science part that really this is proven, because not because something works for A means it will work for B. But your book is so unique in its way, is that you've been consulted with specialists to talk to them, your doctors to talk to them, to understand what I'm saying. Is it really true? Is it right? Does this work? And I honestly, I really applaud you for that. And it gives information on holistic lifestyle approaches to reduce the pain of arthritis. So you're not saying, guys, I'm going to cure you if you read this book.
Absolutely not.
This is not going to happen. But what it would do is it will reduce your day-to-day pain, and it will help you manage it better. How does the 3 pillars, which you really clearly define, which are diet, exercise, and meditation, work together to improve the quality of life for someone living with arthritis?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, when you look at my book, you would be mad not to go to the back and just scroll at literally, there's thousands and thousands of research papers. Honestly, I couldn't have done more research. It's exactly what you said. I didn't want to bring out a book that was like, this is going to take your arthritis away, and it's absolutely not. It's just how to live with it and live with it better. And I absolutely needed that backing, because I'm not a doctor myself. I'm not in any way a specialist in this area. So I had to pull in 13 healthcare professionals. There's 2 rheumatologists, immunologists, doctors, physiotherapists. There's some brilliant, wonderful people that have supported this book. And there's even a foreword from Dr. Mika Yu. He's a rheumatologist in the US, actually, he signed off the whole book. So, and he advocates for a mixture of lifestyle and medication, and it's whatever works for you. So this book, it's not like a prescription sort of do this and you'll get better. It's take what you need from it. This might work, this might not, and like you said, those 3 pillars, there's exercise, there's food, lifestyle, everything else, but it's actually more than that. It's sleep, it's managing your pain, it's understanding your arthritis. It's actually 9 chapters in this book. So, the first one talks about all about arthritis, understanding different types of medications, how it manifests in the body, how it operates. And so you can really understand your condition, which is the first step, I think, to living with this, is understanding it. The second chapter is all about anti-inflammatory components and things that may potentially reduce inflammation in the body and help you. And then the third one, I think, is the opposite. So it's things in your life that may increase inflammation. And it's all things that we already know, like smoking, alcohol, not getting enough sleep. It's all the things that we already know, but it's backed up. And then chapter 4 is sort of setting up the kitchen. So when I first started cooking things from scratch and eating really well, I felt really overwhelmed. I thought, what on earth, how am I going to start this? So chapter 4 is all about that. Chapter 5 is recipes. Chapter 6 is pain management. So understanding your pain, understanding where it comes from. It's a lot to do with stress as well. Chapter 7, sorry, I just thought I'd go through, is exercise. So like you said, that's one of the pillars that you've just mentioned. So everything from, yoga to stretching to like hand exercises, whatever it is. And the thing is, it'll differ from person to person. So somebody living with arthritis might be able to go for a 3-mile run. Somebody else might just be able to do a few steps around the block. So it is so different from person to person. So I didn't want to say, do this, do that. It's more sort of see what works for you and your body. Chapter 8 is all about sleep and methods to get a good night's sleep and take care of your sleep and well-being, because sleep is anti-inflammatory. It resets the body. It really helps with that inflammation and really helps. And actually, when you have an autoimmune disease, you need more sleep. And then chapter 9 is all about mindfulness. So taking care of your mental well-being. And I'm not saying that every day is going to be a ray of sunshine, because it's not, but it's just managing your emotions and understanding where they come from and accepting them for what they are as well, and understanding yourself. So sorry, I've gone above the. I
love that you did
the
that.
3 pillars, but it's more. It's absolutely.
But you did something very phenomenal there, because what you've done is that you've talked about key things, and it's up to the individual to figure it out. And people might think it's just arthritis. Someone like myself would actually loved your book because I've read some of it. But what I love about it is that even someone with sickle cell anemia could read this book, because it's all the same thing. These are what we all need to get better. You sleep better, you exercise. But the way you describe it is not telling me you have to sleep. You tell us how to do it in a better and more meaningful way. So, how to make your room setting go right.
Yeah.
So I think you've done a really really good book out there that everyone needs to grab a copy, because even people not suffering from arthritis, I repeat, and people without chronic illness, because there's so much people who are healthy don't realize that they produce things going on in their life just by following a certain pattern. I have to ask about you. You're also the founder of Arthritis Foodie, a blog that discusses many topics on arthritis. And I noticed that you discuss about having a positive mindset. And this is something we all say: mindfulness, mindset, having it positive, but people don't realize how much that impacts and how much it is very important. Can you describe how you've been able to achieve positive mindset, being able to live right through?
Do you know what? It is what I was saying earlier about acceptance and accepting your condition. I'm not saying you won't be upset about it, that you won't cry, that you won't have moments where you feel rubbish, but the first stage is acceptance. And when you accept your condition and you learn to live with it, that's the first stage, because after that you think, okay, I don't need to hide it anymore. I can be honest with myself, I can be honest with others, and the weight lifts. It really, really does. And then you can focus on it more to get the right medication, do the right things in your life, get a good night's sleep. I think because a lot of it is the stress of not knowing how to deal with it, not understanding it, feeling like, oh, this is happening to me and I've got to fight it, but actually understanding it calmly, accepting it, and making it your friend are the first steps, I think, to be able to get into more of a positive mindset. And the way I sort of talk about it in my blog and have done for years is like, there wouldn't be a rainbow without sunshine and rain. You can't have the beautiful tapestry of life without those two things. So accept the rain, accept there's going to be painful days, there's going to be rubbish days, and accept the sunshine too, and they're equally as important. Don't deny either. So I as much as I'm a positive person, I try to live with this really well as best as I can. I would be lying to you if I said I didn't have difficult days and that I get sad sometimes, or that I get frustrated or stressed, or, whatever it might be. So it's about that balance and just going, okay, do you know what? I've had a really stressful day today, actually. I didn't get much sleep. I've not eaten as well as I could have done. And now my arthritis hurts. And I go, oh, but I understand it. So that's okay. So I might be sad and frustrated, but I understand it. And then on days when I do feel good, I have had a good night's sleep, I've eaten really well, I make the most of it, and you enjoy it. It's the ups and downs, and I think life is like that anyway, whether you have a condition or not. Actually, there's there's good and bad in everything, and bad things happen to good people. That's life. So you've just got to take the good with the bad, because that's life. So that's how I try and look at things and make the most of things. And we're only here once, so if you have got a condition that you live with 24/7, like I said, if you make it your enemy and you're angry at it every day, what kind of life is that? So yeah, acceptance is a big thing for me, accepting that this has happened, and understanding it, figuring out how to live with it.
Why do you think it's so important to find your healing through natural, because this is what your book is truly about, through natural remedies?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm still on medication. I don't tell people to come off the medication or anything like that. I think if medication is working for you, that's great. But for me, what it was is that the medication was working, and then it got to a point where it just wasn't working. And I was not eating well. I was not taking care of myself. I was eating really terrible food. And I just thought, I can't live like this. There's got to be something else. There's got to be something that I can do, and sort of taking that control and that ownership and going, what can I do? And so I looked into, food and how important it is, and the immune system and gut health, and how literally like 70 to 80%, sorry, of our immune system belongs in our gut. And if you have an autoimmune disease, that's the connection. So when I found that out, I thought, oh my gosh, there's got to be something in food. And I basically, even now I will grab packets at the back, and if I don't understand an ingredient, I don't buy it. I will cook things from scratch. I really take care of myself. And so this idea of natural is just going back to basics and being in control of what you put in your body, is what it's about. And actually, from doing this, I've not had any new joints flare up, and I've been able to reduce my medicine by doing the lifestyle changes alongside medication. And I think there's ups and downs, and like I said, there's times when I still get flare-ups, but I know where it comes from now. So if I have a stressful day and my ankles hurt, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like I'm stressed, or if I've not had a good night's sleep, I know where it comes from. So that's sort of how, and I found some incredible people actually online, like Doctor's Kitchen, Plant Powered Doctor, Dr. Jenna Machoki. They're all people that are in my book, and they advocate for this, taking care of your gut, basically. Tim Spector, I've written a bit about him actually in my book, where he got his son to eat junk food for a whole month, and the effects that it had on his gut health and his brain health and everything. It was just astonishing. So yeah, it's understanding the bigger picture, and going back to basics, and natural means of taking care of yourself. I'm not saying you have to do this 100% of the time, but I've got a trigger tracker template in the book, so certain things that trigger me might not trigger somebody else. So for me, like certain types of dairy really flare me up, deep fried foods really flare me up, but then one of my friends, she's got rheumatoid arthritis, and for her it's red meat. So there's different, so it's very personal to you as well, so you do have to go and discover these things for yourself, what foods work for you, what doesn't, what exercise works for you, what doesn't. It's very personal, because our gut health is so individual. Even between twins, their guts are completely different and diverse, so you really have to go and find out these things for yourself, and have the energy to do so, which just take your time with it. But now I try and live sort of 20 lifestyle, and out with my family, and I want to have a treat, then I will. But I do try and manage it and be as natural as I can. But hopefully that answers your question. I kind of went on a tangent.
No, really. Finally, before I let you go, I know how busy you are. Do you think the battle with the arthritis, getting people better, getting people more off their medication, getting people living a fuller life, do you think that battle is being won? And what more do you think can be done to help people live with arthritis on a day-to-day basis?
So I think for me, it's about empowering people to understand their condition, and take ownership, because you're the only person that's living in your body every day, nobody else. So make it the best place you can be. I think I really hope eventually in the future, that people do find ways of living with this better and don't just rely on medication, because when you rely on medication, then it stops working. It's so agonizing and frustrating, and you feel completely out of control. And whereas I think when you're doing things for yourself, there's a bit more control and ownership. You feel like, I've got this, I'm okay, and you can do things for yourself. And I think it's actually more about that. It's more about the psychological, mental well-being, emotional well-being around all of this, in that when you almost rely on your healthcare professionals and sort of give the ownership to them and go, you sort my medication out, you give me my x-rays and deal with it, and I'm just gonna accept this and take it. And there's the lack of ownership, and it feels like something's happening to you and you don't have control. Whereas I think if you've got that ownership, you understand your condition, you understand what may affect you or trigger you in terms of food, diet, lifestyle, whatever it might be, exercise, sleep, stress, etc. there's that ownership that's going, okay, actually, like I said, the other day, oh God, yeah, no, I had a really stressful day, or I didn't have as much sleep, and you understand where it comes from. And there's almost that relief of going, I know my own body, and this is my body, I live in it, and this is what I can do for it. And it makes you feel good. So yeah, so that for me is the battle that I want people to take on, is, or the message to take on is yeah, you live in your body, nobody else. So you do what you can for it when you can. Do what you can when you can. I'm not, you can't live like this every day, but you can do something small every day to help yourself, no matter what it might be.
Wow, Emily, I'm so happy you did this. You wrote this amazing book. You also wrote about it. And anyone looking for your book, how do they find it?
Yes, so if you just Google Beats Arthritis Naturally, it's available globally on Book Depository, and it's also on Amazon.co.uk if you're in the UK. It's out in America next year officially, so I'm very excited for that. And yeah, hopefully some other countries it'll be released like properly there as well, but you can get it from Book Depository globally, and it's free delivery anywhere around the world. Otherwise, Amazon UK.
Oh, thank you, Emily Johnson. I'm really glad you shared your story, and I hope this inspires so many other people to change their lifestyle. And also get a copy of your book as well, because I think reading that book will give people practical guide, realistic guide on how to live better with a chronic illness, or even if you don't have one. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anne. I've really enjoyed being here and loved it. Yeah, thanks for having me.